Well, guys, it's that time again where I'm too lazy to write a post, but even though I just made one yesterday, right? Yeah, I did make one yesterday. But yeah, it's that time when I'm really too lazy to write posts, but I really should probably be doing things and updating you guys on what's going on, even though you probably don't care. This is going to be like a two-part vlog because I know one thing I'm going to talk about is the first half, which I know that not everyone's going to care about. So let's get started with that. My first part is about Golden Sun Dark Dawn, which is a game that came out about 3 weeks ago now, on November 29th for the Nintendo DS. It's the third game in the Golden Sun series, and I have been waiting for this game for 7 years. Golden Sun and Golden Sun The Lost Age are the first two games in the series, and they came out for the Game Boy Advance in 2001 and 2003, respectively. So, Golden Sun was the first game I ever got to play on the Game Boy Advance because it was the game I got with my Game Boy Advance. It was like I got the Game Boy Advance and the game at the same time because we were going on a vacation, a family vacation, and it was an early birthday present, and I needed a game, obviously, for my GBA. So that one just looked pretty. Like I saw the cover, and I was in 6th grade or so. 2001. I was going into 6th grade. No, I was going into 5th grade. Yeah, I was going into 5th grade with that one. Man, I was turning 10. Right, '01. It was for my 10th birthday, but I started playing when I was 9. Oh my god. This is a long time in the making. Oof. So anyway, Golden Suns for the Game Boy Advance, like I said. And I got it because it had a really cool cover of the box art. I'm like, oh, fantasy, awesome. And when you're 9 or 10, that's about all you need. And it turned out to be, like, the most awesome thing I could ever have hoped for in a game. I loved it. And it was really pretty. You know, like, I was used to playing my Game Boy Color, and about the extent I got was, like, Pokemon. I really played for Pokemon. I'm not a huge, like, handheld person, so the fact that I was actually playing it and really getting into it was really awesome. But the game ended, and, you're like, oh no, the story's not over yet, because the whole point of Golden Sun is it's all about the elements, you know, earth, water, wind, and fire, and, like, alchemy, and how this world, where is being, okay, it's different depending which game you play. In the first game, you're Isaac, and you're an Earth adept. You control the powers of, like, Earth. You're joined with your friend Garrett, Fire adept, and you two go into this place called Soul Sanctum one day with the scholar Kraden. Like, these are names that, are debated, and I say things that I know are wrong, but I say them anyway. And your friend Jenna, and you guys go off, and you're going to go there to study, but you don't, and bad guys appear, and they take these elemental stars, and the stars represent Earth, or Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, right? So, two evil people take the stars away, and they're going to go light the elemental lighthouses and unleash alchemy upon the world. And in the first game, you're taught that that's bad, and that's going to bring, like, destruction and chaos. But then, you know, every time you get to a lighthouse, you're always beat. So the Mercury lighthouse gets lit first, and then the game ends when the Venus lighthouse is lit. And you have your other party members, Ivan, the Wind Adept, and Maya, the Mercury Adept. So you journey across the continent, you solve people's problems, you go talk to trees, you cross a desert where you have to go find hidden oases, you get to gamble, you know, throw dice, you get to compete in this tournament, you get to go cross an ocean and fight a kraken. Like, it was so awesome, and really cool and pretty. So then when that game finished, I was like, oh man, you know, need sequel now. So in the meantime, I had to kind of fulfill the urge, you know, I had to fulfill that gap between Golden Sun and Golden Sun The Lost Age, which when that came out in '03, I was hounding that game, like, oh my god, when's it coming out, and I was really looking forward to it. So, in the meantime, I spent my time trying to play other Game Boy Advance games, but my problem was Golden Sun set my bar so high that I could never find a game that was as good as the original Golden Sun was. The graphics were lousy. The story was lousy. You know, like, graphics was the big one. I was always shocked that the graphics were never as good as the first Golden Sun game. And then Golden Sun Lost Age came out. Oh, I was really excited. Got that one. And you're playing... Oh my god. Golden Sun is really complicated in its storyline. But, so then in the second game, you're playing as this guy Felix, who's the brother of Jenna. He's an Earth adept, and thought was dead, but he's not really. And you're with Shiva, the Wind adept, and you have Jenna, your sister, the Fire adept, and then you meet Piers, the Water adept. If you've ever wondered about my obsession with the name Piers, like my laptop is named Piers, that's why from that game, and you find out that no, alchemy really should be released upon the world because the world is deteriorating away, because alchemy's been sealed away, and so you go and light the lighthouses, and yay, you bring alchemy back to Weird. And that game is even bigger than the first game, and the first game was a really long game. And the second game has improved the graphics a little bit more, and the story a little bit more, which is really hard for the Game Boy Advance. Okay, so that ends. And we've been wanting a Golden Sun 3 for years. Like, ever since the Lost Age finished, we're all like, Golden Sun 3, please? And after about, there's been several hoaxes. But then last year E3, Golden Sun DS was announced, and everyone's like, yeah! And then it disappeared. And at Golden Sun at E3 this past year, when everyone's calling Nintendo 3DS, I'm like, screw that! I want my Golden Sun Dark Dawn. And it was finally released, and I decided I needed to finish schooling in my finals before I got Dark Dawn. And then I did! And, of course, I think the best way to describe it is, our expectations are too high. Because we've waited 7 years for this bloody game. And 7 years is probably a bit too long to have to wait. Especially since there's only 2 years between the first and second, and then 7 between the second and the third. What's great with the DS game is that it does not force you to use the stylus. I really don't like the touchscreen on the DS because I hate the fact that a lot of games force you to use the stylus to, like, maneuver. Like, Animal Crossing Wild World, you kind of, if you didn't use the D-pad, you know, the stylus, you can drag it around, and, so I hated that. Like, I'm like, let me use my D-pad, it's really good, and, like, I don't like the whole one hand. So, with Dark Dawn, you can do everything with the D-pad. Awesome! Like, you don't have to use your stylus at all. It's fantastic. It's really nice throwback. But it takes place 30 years after the second game. And you're basically, it's a Generation Xerox, to use a TV Tropes term. And so, you know, you're off in the world, and you have to go, first your quest is to find this wing of a bird, and I'm not going to explain this because I know my video is going to be too long if I do. But then, and then you have to, yeah, and you end up facing some bad guys, and bad guys gonna do shit. And, you instead of igniting the lighthouses, you're igniting these alchemy machines that cause effects, and one in particular causes this really, okay, spoiler, this one that you light, causes this thing called the grave eclipse, because what it does is that it, like, is a tower that rises up and eclipses the sun, and, the Luna machine, I forgot what it's called already, Luna Tower or something, and it casts this shadow on a major part of, like, the continent that you've been exploring, and causes this grave eclipse. And when you enter the grave eclipse, like, you can see it on the map, like, the lighting's different. You enter the map, like, this music plays, like, wah, 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 and the monsters you encounter are tough as shit. It's really hard to defeat them. They're really, really strong. But you gain, like, 14,000 experience points. It's awesome to level up with. And it's creepy in this grave eclipse because then you can talk to, because people are dying because the monsters are invading actual towns now, and you go to these towns that maybe you saw before, and there's dead bodies, and there's this ability in the first games it would have been called Mind Read, and this game is called Spirit Sense, where you can read the souls and their thoughts, and it's creepy. But you see dead bodies, and if you go up and hit the A button, it goes, the remains of some unfortunate soul. It's terrible! And in one instance, you see a girl die. You know, it's pretty bad. But obviously your goal is to stop this. So, okay. What do I think about Dark Dawn? It did not live up to my hopes. I'm not quite done with it yet. I'm almost done with it. Like, I know what's coming. I'm almost done. It seemed really short, and I think what the problem was with it is, like, these alchemy machines. A huge part of any RPG is, like puzzles and mazes and stuff. But the mazes to get to the alchemy machines weren't all that complicated. Like, I feel myself pretty stupid with Golden Sun made me feel dumb because some of these mazes were just hard. And maybe because I was like, what, 9 and 10 and about 12 when I played them, but in Dark Dawn, they're really simple. Like, you finish them like that. And then I think what I was doing was I was really hoping for more. Okay, when is the hard thing coming? But the hard thing never came. And it's really, really sad when the hard thing doesn't come. So, I was just so annoyed and just like so disappointed. But here's the thing, is that I know, it's like after 7 years, your expectations are just like through the roof. Like there are probably very few series that will probably have this kind of hype or hope put into them, and I think it's partially because the Golden Sun games were so good, but no one played them. I mentioned Golden Sun, and no one's ever heard of Golden Sun. No one knows what it is. Seriously, like, I run into people, when we talk about video games, and what's your favorite Golden Sun? What's that? And, so, but, like, there was so much hope put into them by the fans that, there was no way they could have lived up to the hope, but that's why I also kind of set it down. I was like, well, I don't really expect them to be awesome to another degree, but I was like, just replicate what the first games were, which was, fun, challenging, and memorable. And the problem was, I was going through and playing, and there's a point where there's a war thing going on between these two cities/countries. It's hard to present in RPGs, Apparently there's a war going on, but I wasn't remembering anybody. Like, who are these guys? Who's that? Huh? The what region? Because I think a hindrance, but a good thing, but a problem of this series, of this game, was they introduced this thing called the encyclopedia, or I think it's the encyclopedia. And as conversations go on, people will say certain words that are underlined, and you can click on them, and up on the top screen will pop up a definition of what it is. So, I think that was kind of like their convenient way of railroading in tons of new stuff, like, plot! Ah! So, you had to get used to that. And, if you didn't remember them, it was really hard, because it's like, oh wait, who's that? And go like to flip, oh, what? What's that? And so, I just, that really, it almost was too complicated. And, like, Golden Sun and Golden Sun Lost Age were really complex games, but, like, Dark Dawn was trying to take another step, and just became way too complicated. In the fact that, like, I wasn't remembering people, and the major problem is? Golden Sun, Dark Dawn, and I think the other games in this too, has a major way of things happening in the past to bite you in the ass. Remember that one thing? Yeah, you need to go do that one thing. And there's a lot of hopes of backtracking. However, this game has already caused a lot of people to get annoyed, because there are 3 specific points in this game where you can't go back. If you pass a point, you can't go back to the first point. And one of them happens really early on, and I missed they're called Jin, but they're spelled D-J-I-N-N, and I'm thinking, I call them, like, Dijon in my head, like Dijon mustard. You following me? And there's little monsters that you get, and they, like, attack. They're pretty cool. But, like, I missed one, but I can't get it. And it doesn't really hurt you in the long run, but, if you're, like, a completionist nerd and trying to get 100%, or at least, I love this game so much that I will actually try and get 100%. And I'm like, well, there goes that. On my next run through, I better get it. And then there's one, and, like, kind of like the middle-ish, and then one, the Gravy Eclipse is another one. But, like, these happen, and you can't do anything to go back, but in the other games, you could almost always kind of go back after you reach a certain point. You reach a certain point, you can go back to anything. In these games, no. I'm at the end point where I have, like, everything that I could have, but I can't go back to these places to get things I missed. They're, like, they are lost forever. And that is really annoying, because unless you're playing with a guide, you're not going to know some of these. Some of these Dijin are just, like, ridiculously hidden, that you will not find them unless you have a guide. It's this is going to be a really long rant about Golden Sun, I'm sorry.